Alright again, everybody, this is the Amazombie. We're here with the StarCraft 2 newscast. This is weekly edit number 9, I believe we are on right now. This is the third attempt at a video show here. I'm still kind of learning a lot of this. Don't know how well it's going to go, but we do have a guest today for today's show. We do have, do you prefer IronMan or IronMan SC?
Sorry about that.
That's alright.
Either one is perfectly fine.
Alrighty. I have you written as IronMan, that's because that's what you got on Team Liquid there. So our guest today is IronMan SC. We're here. He's a member of the Planetary Workshop, who I spent some time talking about last week. And I was talking to him throughout the week, and we wanted to maybe do an interview, talk more about map making within the community, the Melee maps being a big part of the StarCraft 2 community right now, especially with everyone talking about the new Blizzard maps and how they hate them. So I thought that we could have him on to give kind of his point of view, his story about map making and whatnot and what they're into. So we're going to jump right into that. So IronMan, let's start with the basics. Who are you? How did you get into StarCraft 2 and map making?
Well, my original name is Travis, and, I've always been a fan.
Your given name?
Yeah, my original birth name, I have a real name. But, I've always been a fan of StarCraft. I got it, the original when it first came out, and I've loved it ever since. But, I always got into the habit of kind of BMing a lot on ladder, so I resolved to making maps, and it actually kept me very calm. So I'd rather do something that's fun, creative, and calm, and rather than bursting out in anger and tears every day.
When did you, on that note, when did you just first decide to sit down and make a map? Like, how old were you? How many years ago?
Oh, gosh. When did the original come out?
98, I believe.
98?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably...
97 or 98, I can't recall right now. Probably
early 2000.
Right around, little after Brood War came out?
Yeah, after Brood War, definitely. I grew up in a creative family. My dad and my brother are graphic artists, and my sisters are teachers, so...
Oh, okay.
It's just kind of in my blood to be creative, and, I always enjoyed photography of scenery, and so when I got into the editor for Brood War, I fell in love with it, and I just began making maps from then on, and then, StarCraft 2 came out, and I immediately just transitioned from World of Warcraft to StarCraft 2, and I never looked back.
On that note, this is a little bit just out of my own curiosity. How different are the map editors between the two games? I played with the original Brood War. I built some maps, but I haven't even touched the StarCraft 2 one. I haven't even opened it, so I'm just kind of curious.
It's been a little while. I haven't played Brood War for about 4 or 5 years. I guess it just took a dump on me one day, but it's definitely different. There's a lot more things in the StarCraft 2 editor, and plus, unlike the StarCraft 2 editor in Brood War, a lot of the stuff was 2D.
Oh, yeah.
So, you really, and a lot of the cliffs, they were always diagonal and jagged, so you couldn't really smooth things out like you can in StarCraft 2, so in the current editor, it's a lot more advanced and a lot more simpler, with obviously updated graphics and visuals. But it's much more entertaining, and you can be so much more creative in so many different ways.
Okay. So you are part, like I mentioned before, of the Planetary Workshop map making team, and I believe you told me that you're the only North American member. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us more about that. Where did the team come from, and how did you get involved?
Well, I've been a map maker since the StarCraft 2 release, and I've personally improved on myself. And then I remember one day I created Scars of Ire, which was one of my best first maps, I would say, and that got a pretty popular thread. Well over 170 replies, I believe. And that skyrocketed for me, and that helped me learn a lot more about map making in general. And then I came on one day, and I got a private message on Team Liquid from Mural. And he's a German map maker, and he said, hey, I want to make this map team with Johannes or someone.
Yeah.
And I want to invite you to it. And I guess he thought I was a European map maker, but I said, yeah, sure, and from then on, within a few days, there were 9 of us, or 8 of us maybe, and we just started forming it, and, it took us about a week or two to decide on the name, but we were originally called the Koprulu Pioneers.
Okay.
But we thought that was a little corny, and it didn't really make sense. So we put a poll up on Team Liquid, and
I think I remember that poll now that you mention it. I think I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, so it had 5, 6 different names, and the majority voted Planetary Workshop, so we took it from there.
And how long ago was that when you guys kind of formed?
Roughly a month and a half ago, I believe.
Okay. So it's been about then. You just recently posted the thread on Team Liquid about your guys' team and everything, and then put up the website. So it's been a pretty quick overall formation.
Yeah. We have our own private forum away from the public for our own personal map discussions and things like that. We've been having that for about 2 months, I believe, and we've been designing the website for the last month. I mean, they've been doing that kind of stuff on Photoshop and just constantly updating it and changing the colors and the design, everything. So we really plan this step by step.
Okay. So what do you, as a map maker, and especially you guys, I'm guessing you only make melee maps, or have you played with any customs, or...
You know what? Honestly, I'm just not a fan of custom games.
Yeah.
I know that may be hard to believe, but I just...
You just prefer the melee? Okay, so what do you hope to accomplish, you personally, and what about your team? What are you guys... What's your purpose? What's your overall mission?
Well, for me personally, I love being creative, and there's no limitations. It's not like a job where it's like, hey, you have to do it this way and you have to do the way I want it. But no, it's when you get to the editor and, there's a certain criteria you have to meet. Like, there needs to be this many bases and, rush distance needs to be certain and, things like that. But once you get that down, you can do whatever you want. The sky is your limit. So for me personally, it's a personal improvement on creativity and using your mind to think of things. And I guess it's sort of like an evolution to map making in a sense, because the first maps that were released when StarCraft 2 was released, we thought those were pro maps. I mean, we thought they were good, but now you look at the ones right now from, TPW or iCup or you look at MLG and it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no. I mean, they're worlds better than Steps of War, or...
Yeah, definitely. So, as a personal improvement, it's something I personally enjoy. I do it every day. It's a hobby of mine. It's something I love to do on my own time. And not a lot of people understand that, unfortunately. But,
sure. So, when you sit down, let's say, to the map editor, and we're like, you know what, I want to make something new. Where does your inspiration come from? Do you ever look back to the Brood War maps, or do you just look forward to the StarCraft 2 mechanics, things like the Zelnaga towers, the destructible rocks, things that they didn't have in the early Brood War days? I mean, where do you look? Where do you go?
Well, I use the Team Liquid forums. My biggest inspiration is, of course, LS Prime.
Okay.
But, I mean, he's a good map maker, and, I think there's a lot of map makers on Team Liquid that are kind of jealous that, he kind of steps in and basically takes the entire scene on Team Liquid.
Yeah.
But, he is definitely my inspiration. I never talked to him personally, but I see some of his maps, and I'm like, hey, I should try something like that, or take what he did and tweak it a bit and try and make it better. Normally, this may sound bad, but in a lot of different things
he's
life.
He's Korean, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, a lot of... And you can do this in a lot of things in life where you look at something or you look at a player and you can just say to yourself, he sucks. I'm going to do what he did, but I'm going to do it better.
Sure.
So, I mean, I kind of use that motivation, not out of arrogance, but just it's something
to challenge
you
yourself.
put your mind to. So,
yeah.
As far as that goes.
Do you ever look back to Brood War maps?
Honestly, no, I don't. I think it's nice that some map makers, they will take a Brood War map and they'll convert it to a StarCraft 2 map, and they'll put them side by side and compare it. I think that's brilliant. I think that's awesome. But StarCraft 2 is so much more different than Brood War now. So it's like you can't take a Brood War map and just make it work for StarCraft 2. It takes a lot of time and planning. They're two different games, unfortunately. I don't look back to Brood War. Even though I love it, I absolutely love the game. It's one of the best games I've ever played, but as far as map making, you need to keep up to date.
So, you already said you kind of almost in a way idolize LS Prime, or you at least look to him for some inspiration. What other maps do you look at? Do you study or do you find inspiration from, like Blizzard, Icy Cup, or any of the other community projects?
I look mostly at GSL, MLG, and some other good map maker maps, like LS Prime, Jackie Prime, or some other guys like Leafix or Monitor or Prodig or those guys.
I'm a huge Prodig fan, actually, personally. I love that guy's maps. What now? Do you play much StarCraft 2, or do you just mostly work on the backside?
I played Season 1 and Season 2. I only have like 350 league wins. I'm high gold, low platinum type of a player, but I haven't played Season 3 yet, and I don't really plan to. I just love map making.
Sure.
So it's like, screw the ladder.
Are there any of the Blizzard maps that you like, or you like most other people and despise them?
There's a couple, like Shakura's Plateau or Metalopolis. I mean, the whole Metalopolis thing that's been going on, like, I understand what they're saying, but they do have a point. It can be too predictable if they eliminate close spawns.
Sure.
So, I love it, because it's a great macro map. Same with Shakura's Plateau. But a lot of their maps, they do encourage 2-base play, which is exactly the reason I hate the Season 3 maps. I'm sorry. I really hate it. And, people say Antigua Shipyard is the best one so far, and that's I just don't believe that. Okay. I don't even look at their maps.
Yeah, and that's something that I've actually been wondering about, a little bit off topic, but I have been wondering, people bitch about the Blizzard maps, but I have this theory that they actually just don't put a lot of effort in because they don't have to. Because you guys, or Icy Cup, or these other groups will do it for them. You know what I mean?
Well, I can understand if, the map makers over at Blizzard are tied down with other work. That's understandable. I've kind of been in a spot like that where you have too much going on, but if you look back at the Season 1 or, the StarCraft 2 release maps from Blizzard, those are the most decorated from Blizzard. Every season since, they've become more bland with the textures and doodads. They get down a basic layout, and it's clear that they don't really test them. You can see on Antigua Shipyards that, you can fire from base to base across open.
Yeah, I did see that.
So it's, so their texturing has become lower quality over time. They kind of do the same basics.
That's my one complaint about Shakura's, is I think it's a great layout, but the textures to me are really boring. It's all just purple, Yeah,
it's like purple and blue on the low ground and purple on the high ground, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, there's very little eye candy to it,
There's a good, 3-4 textures when there's 8 available, so, I mean, if I had the chance to edit Shakura's Plateau, I would definitely, try and add something else in there.
Have you, on that note, have you ever taken a Blizzard map and played with it?
No.
Okay. Any reason in particular, or just never brought it up?
I never really thought of it. It's just like, well, it's their map. I don't feel I have the right to just, take what they made and say, hey, your map sucks. I can do it better. So I work on my own.
All right. So moving on your Team Liquid thread for your team, you are credited with what they are saying your current map pool with a couple of maps. One of them being Antigua Prime, correct? And Scars of Ire, which you mentioned earlier. Both of those are two-player melee maps. Is that kind of your specialty, or where you go to, or just coincidence that those two were put in a group?
As far as like they were put into the TPW map pool. Well, yeah, two-player maps first of all is my specialty. I resolved to just doing that. I've been commented a couple times, and I do agree. I have a bad habit of putting the spawn locations in the exact same places. Mm-hmm. So if you look on all my maps, the spawn
they all have kind of it's like a flipped Zelnaga.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually brought up on the screen, you can't see it, but I brought up both of those maps, so we're kind of looking at them right now.
Yeah. As far as getting put into the map pool, those two were hand-selected by the other members. So, I don't think it is by coincidence. They really liked those. Scars of Ire was originally in the map pool, but then I released Antigua Prime, and they took that one over by a mile. I had one other map called Astrofield, but that's not even going to go anywhere, even though it's aesthetically pleasing. Mm-hmm. But it's just too generic, so I'm kind of brushing that one aside.
On both of these maps, I mean, how much changes did you make from like your original version to like the finalized release version?
How much what?
How many changes? How far of a difference from the original like beta version, essentially?
Well, as much as it takes, honestly. Scars of Ire, if you ever look at the map thread on Team Liquid, mm-hmm. you'll see a before picture and after.
Okay.
So I definitely went through a lot of changes for that one. Roughly 15 to 20 published changes for Scars of Ire.
Okay.
And for Antigua Prime, probably 10. It just really depends how you first lay it out. That's why map making is so hard sometimes, because you think you have a map put together, but you don't really look at the little things like, oh, is this layout symmetrical enough? Is it, is the rush distance really good enough? Mm-hmm. Or is there enough space in the natural? Like, you don't really pay attention to those things. But when you do, you put yourself in a spot where you can make less changes in the future.
Okay. Have you guys, or you personally, or any of your teammates, or as a team as a whole, submitted any of these maps for MLG or GSL consideration? And if so, which ones?
We had a serious talk about that. We actually have a thread on our private forum mm-hmm. about casters and tournaments that we can contact and try and get our name out there, because we're not trying to compete with iCup. We're trying to offer something else. Because right now in every tournament there's 8 to 15 maps that you can choose from. Mm-hmm. We want to offer 8, 9, 10, 15 more maps. And so we've contacted GSTL, GSL, MLG, NSAL, lots of private tournaments, casters. I mean, we've contacted a lot of people, and some of them are not giving us answers. Some are, it's just, we're trying to get our name out there. We're posting all over Team Liquid. We're trying to present more fresh maps to the community.
Yeah, I've played on quite a few of your guys' maps, and so far I dig them. I haven't found one that I hate. I found ones I like better than others, but I haven't found one that I absolutely hate or anything yet, so that's always a good sign. But then again, I'm not a pro player, and I'm not ever going to claim to be. I'm nowhere near that level. But just as a normal guy who loves the game and loves that people go out of their way to put so much effort into things just for the community, I have a good time with them. So now that we've covered all of that, what about more of the balance of map making? And you talked about it a little bit, but what tools do you and your team use to take that into consideration? How much testing? What other tools or things do you guys bring up other than just, let's say, the normal things that people would think of, like a rush distance or how easy is it to take your third, you know?
Well, when you look at a lot of the maps nowadays, the main, natural, and third are often starting to become more generic with their layout.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, you kind of need to do it, these few certain ways, otherwise it's not going to work. So maps are becoming a little bit more generic as far as the layout. But when it comes to balance, our team really, really puts a lot of time into as much balance as possible. Now, we can't really balance the game, such as the units, but we can try and make balanced maps. And just by doing that, we constantly show each other our maps and pictures and analyzer photos. We're constantly commenting on each other's. We're drawing pictures to say, like, hey, this is my idea. This is what I think you should do. We're doing lots of work with the grids, make sure that, they're symmetrical enough. And, we're constantly doing that, and we're constantly keeping up to date with each other's maps. We are on every single day on Skype, all day, and we're constant. It's all we talk about. So we're constantly aware of that. Hey, people want to play balanced macro maps, and so we're aiming to do that, not just balance-wise, but also aesthetically.
So on that note, you brought up the idea of kind of the staleness in a way of that main natural third that's kind of become almost standard in a lot of the newer maps. And that's something that I've actually talked about a lot, and I've even posted on the custom map threads that, and I'm wondering your opinion on this more, is there's some maps, even Blizzard maps, that I think are really interesting that everyone else hates. And the one that I think of in general is Desert Oasis, if you remember that map.
Yep.
Is one, I admit it's got that huge distance between the natural and the main, right? And then a third is really difficult. But what I enjoy was that when I'd see pro player, even normal people play on that map, they always had to push the boundaries of their play. You know what I mean? They were always having to come up with something completely new just because that map was so different from the rest. And I'm wondering, do you guys ever take that into effect, or what's your opinion on that?
We definitely can. It's just not something we bring up a lot because, we want to try and be part of the majority. And the majority is, hey, we want a third that you can take easily and that it's not too hard to defend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we understand we love macro games. We love interesting games as well. One day it'll get too boring, and seeing the same generic three-base play. But it's like, when you see someone take a third, you sit up in your seat and your eyes get big and you're like, whoa, this is going to be a macro game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is what people want. And, a map like Desert Oasis, that was back in Season 1.
Yeah.
So balance was definitely, and perspectives were definitely different. So people were taking those bases without really taking into consideration, like, oh, how is this truly balancing the game? They think, oh, it's a base, I'm going to go take it. But, nowadays you're going to look at it and be like, well, that's really, really far away.
Mm-hmm.
So, that would cause a lot of problems. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's about what I got for you today. I want to thank you first for joining me. I appreciate it. I appreciate what you guys do a lot. I love the effort that you guys put in. Do you have any other shout-outs you want to make?
I just want to give a heads up to my guys. I mean, they're all great map makers. They're very active. You'll find each team member on our website at theplanetaryworkshop.com. Give them a shout out. Just let them know they're doing a good job. They're great guys. They host a King of the Hill on Sunday afternoons, I think, with all the TPW maps on the EU server, European server. So if you ever want to try out the maps, you can go there. But yeah, they're a great group of guys. We love map making. We love the community. We appreciate everyone, even the newer map makers. We want to show everyone that, hey, there's more to be desired, and that's our goal. We really just want to constantly make the game fresh, keep it interesting by making new maps, because honestly, the truth is, without newer maps constantly coming into play, the game is going to get dull.
Sure.
So, we're always trying to expand and just try and make things interesting and fresh. So that's our team goal. That's that's what we aim for. So yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us. I think that's about all that I got for you today.
Yeah, not a problem. It was a pleasure.
All right, and I will hopefully be talking to you guys sometime again soon. Hopefully. Wait, one more question, quickly. You guys have this current map pool listed. How often do you plan on changing that or adjusting it? Or is there a plan in place yet?
Well, right now, we are working on, I think, 3 new maps, including one that I've been working on called TPW Ohana. You'll find it in the Team Liquid map forum.
Okay.
What we have planned is that every month we're trying to make at least a couple new maps, and then we're going to compare them and try and filter out 1 or 2 maps at a time. So we're going to constantly and monthly try and update the map pool.
Okay. And do you guys have any tournaments ongoing right now, other than your own King of the Hill stuff, that are using any of your maps that you know of so far?
Well, us personally, we plan to use our own tournaments hosted by TPW. But right now, there's several little tournaments going on right now, like Zeke.
Sure.
There's a few of those that want to, use a few of our maps as well. And Stim TV is going to be using Sanctuarium, Odyssey, and One Must Fall, which are all TPW maps. So we're contacting them saying, hey, if you're going to use them, please let us know so we can put you guys on our website. I mean, we want to know.
Great.
So it's people are starting to use them a little bit more. People are starting to mention us a little bit around Team Liquid. Hey, use GSL, iCup, or even TPW maps now. So it's growing, and I think in a few months, it'll get out there.
Good. On that note, I want to give a shout out to Zeke. I know Lane from Zeke. That guy's awesome. Who pretty much built that site himself, and him and his crew. They're doing a great job over there. So cool. Thanks for bringing them up. All right. Well, then I think that's all we got for you today. Then I'm going to move on. Thanks for joining me.
No problem.
All right, man. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, everybody, we're back now. That was IronMan SC from the Planetary Workshop. He created 2 of the current map pools, 2 of the current Melee maps in their map pool, one being Antigua Prime, the other being Scars of Ire, and he was just on talking about some map making. So, I know a lot of people don't find that interesting. Oh well, I do. So, that's what I'm going to go with. Okay, now we're going to move on today. We're going to move on to our next topic. My topic today is I am NesTea. Now, there's a spoiler alert, because for some reason people hate to hear the results. You know what? Just don't be a sports fan if you hate to hear the results, because there's no way that you're ever going to be able to watch everything that you want to watch and not hear the results beforehand, okay? So, anyway, spoiler alert. NesTea won the GSL on Friday night, and he didn't just win. It was the GSL finals. What else would happen other than a 4-0 victory for NesTea? He dominated Losira, which I believe, if you recall, last week I said that was going to happen. And my question is, NesTea is so strong. He's so smart. Is he the best player in the world? He now has he's a 3-time GSL champion, and that being said, in Brood War, 3 times a champion was a huge effing deal. So far, it doesn't seem that in StarCraft 2 here that it is that big. I mean, it's a big deal, but you don't hear people yelling "Bonjour" left and right, or Golden Mouse type thing. It seems like 3 isn't quite the magic number. So I'm wondering, what does a 3-time champion mean in StarCraft 2? Here's my point of view on it, before I kind of go on. The championship, the Codas, it's so difficult, and it's not that NesTea, I mean, he may be the best and smartest player in the world. I'm not taking that away. But what I am saying is he keeps playing the same rather small group of people. He's the best out of, like 50 people. I mean, that's basically what we're looking at. I'm not saying that's bad. Those are all strong players, and NesTea is a strong player. But my point is, we have not seen NesTea proven himself outside of Korea, outside of GSL Codas. Yes, he dominates Codas, but he hasn't proven himself outside of that. And does that matter nowadays? Back in Brood War, it wouldn't have. No one would have cared, right? No one cares that Flash doesn't come and play Brood War in the U.S., right? Because there's no scene. But here in StarCraft 2, North America right now is the scene. And I know someday they're going to send NesTea. Because he's going to have to. I mean, MC has come and proven himself. He's won some tournaments, but in other ones, he's almost always in top 3, if not top 10, right? And the guy is just so strong. He was the 2-time. He was the first player that had the 3-time, I believe, attempt at winning the GSL. Unfortunately, on his 3rd time, he fell. But I mean, what does 3-time champion mean? At what point? Let's say NesTea comes and wins for the next 2 GSLs. At that point, would he be considered the first great dominant player in StarCraft 2? I mean, yeah, we had MVP for a while, we had MC for a while, but they lasted 2 to 3 seasons of strength. NesTea is so far 3 seasons. And I just don't see anyone in Codas catching up with him. There's no one, I don't think. So I don't know. I mean, go ahead if you have your opinion. Leave it on the Team Liquid thread. Leave it here on the website sc2newscast.com. Go ahead and give me your comments. And I'm just curious because NesTea is the man. I mean, and the GSL Codas is while very prestigious, it's not where the world is looking right now. In fact, I know it's not quite the same, but MLG is probably getting more attention worldwide than GSL. You get all sorts of Europeans coming over for each MLG. How many go over for GSL? Not many. Oh well. I mean, I'm not trying to knock GSL, don't worry. I'm just curious about your opinions on that. I just don't know. I don't know. NesTea is just so good. He's just so good. I don't understand. He blows my mind with how good he is. He's freaking amazing. Okay, on to MLG. Since we have been talking about MLG. MLG Anaheim came up this weekend. And what was some of the highlights of this? Oh, man, I just don't know. NesTea? Oh, he wasn't there. He was winning the GSL. Against Losira. But who was there? Who was at MLG Anaheim? I'll show you who was at MLG Anaheim. This guy. That's MVP. That's two-time GSL champion. That's a picture of him right there holding, I believe, his first GSL trophy. What did he do at MLG Anaheim? He took the show, is what he did. He totally dominated. In fact, hold on, let me bring up the little MLG Anaheim logo. How about that? Let's take a look at that. So, MLG Anaheim happened this weekend. Spoiler alert, MVP won. He didn't just look one, he was, again, rather dominant. He was the machine tearing that we knew him to be, right? He just tore through the competition. It was kind of and was making very little mistakes, very few. But who were the other Koreans? MMA, Boxer, Gonzi was there, Choya, Rain was there. There was a lot of Koreans there, and it was a pretty stacked field. Winners, I was surprised to see Liquid Tyler made it out of the open bracket, and he unfortunately lost every match in his pool play, but he did look very strong. White Raw, did anyone hear about what happened with White Raw? That was awesome. That guy is so rad. He accidentally missed his start time for his I think like second round open bracket match and was disqualified. Knocked down to the losers bracket very early. He tore through the losers bracket. The guy that he took the DQ to, he met later in the losers bracket. What did that guy do? That guy forfeited the first two games to make it an even best of 3. Instead of the extended series best of 7 with 2 games up, he forfeited the first 2 games just to make it a fair best of 3. That's freaking class right there. And Grandpa Toss, he doesn't demand it. You know that he didn't ask, or even he was probably even embarrassed to take that. But that was a stand-up move. It was awesome. He tore through. He lasted for a good long while. He was taken out on a championship Sunday in the early round brackets, I believe. But the main person I want to talk about today from MLG Anaheim is the dominance of the Slayers clan. And not just MMA, who, by the way, took second place. Almost had the first repeat performance in an MLG. Almost. Pretty close. But Boxer. Slayers Boxer, my hero. This guy, what did he do? No one expected him to make it out of pool play, but he did. In fact, he went 5-0, I believe, in pool play. He got placed in the championship bracket on Championship Sunday. And he won. He made it to the finals, the winners bracket finals against MVP, who he beat, or he lost to 2-1, and got knocked down to the losers bracket finals against his protege, the son of the Boxer, MMA. And those games were phenomenal. And MMA ended up winning, going to the overall finals, but Boxer looked good. And if anyone missed it, the very first, I believe it was the first match against, who did he play? Now I can't even think of it. Rain. Against TSL Rain, or Fnatic Rain now. Fnatic Rain, it could have been the longest game in MLG history, I'm not sure. It was like an hour, 20-minute game time on Metalopolis, almost completely mined out. And gigantic air Terran against air Terran. I mean, it was insane. I'd never seen a game like that. It was quite phenomenal. And Boxer almost pulled out a draw. He knew he was losing in the late game, and just like a good chess player, tried to force a draw, and he almost did. It was quite entertaining to watch. So, in case you missed it, you have to watch that. Boxer got 3rd place at the event. 3rd place. The 2 highest placing foreigners were Huck and Naniwa, and then followed up by, I think, like Rhett, Sho, Idra, and a couple other people. They did very well. Huck and Naniwa are awesome players. Naniwa in the very early match against Huck, very first match of the event, was disappointed in himself. He lost to Huck very one-sidedly, and he was pretty upset. So it was good to see him kind of come back and tear through. Also up there, not too far, I think in top 16 was Liquid Sheth, and the newest Team Liquid member. Hey Pro wasn't too far back, I don't think. Rhett was up there. Tyler was a little bit lower. So it was good to see those guys going good. I especially like Show. I'm actually disappointed Show did not even do better than he did, because that guy is really, really strong player. So overall, my pick was Boxer last week, if you remember, and I said how amazing it would be if Boxer made it all the way. Now he didn't, but he almost did. And I was sitting on the edge of my seat, man. Boxer's the man. The guy is so good. So, I don't know. Well, tell me what you think. What are your thoughts about what happened with Boxer? He showed up and showed us this new Korean Hellion Terran that is becoming so popular and very strong. In fact, all the Slayers clan were doing it, but Boxer, I mean, just took Idra out 2 games in a row with it. It was impressive. I don't know about this Hellion Terran. I'm not sold on it as an overall strat. I'm also not sold on... In a lot of these games, they stuck with this mech Terran going, you know, the Hellions into Tank Viking, which is fine. But, I mean, they don't... I'm not sold that if you didn't suddenly, especially once everything was fortified, you got a position with a lot of strong tanks, some Vikings, that doing a major tech switch into Bio wouldn't have been a good decision, or would have been bad. I think it would have been very good, actually. There's a couple points where I'm sitting there like, holy crap, just throw down some barracks and make a bunch of Marauders and you'll tear through all of a sudden. I was saying that to all the Terrans just about, and very few of them did. I think MVP was like the only one who kind of stuck with a more standard. He even went the Hellions a few times and then went back to the Tank Marine and just was the guy, just solid play all event long. I am so excited for MLG Raleigh. In fact, let me look that up. When is MLG Raleigh happening? MajorLeagueGaming.com. Let's go there. When does MLG? I know it's pretty soon, isn't it? Isn't it only like a month away or something? Raleigh, yeah, it is. It's August 26th, so it's not even a month away now. It's pretty fast coming up for MLG Raleigh, so that's going to be exciting. All the news is going to start coming out very quickly. Also, we have NASL Season 2 starting up right around that same time, and I'm getting excited for that, because Season 1, yeah, it had its issues, but I think people gave it a lot more crap than it deserved. I think that they actually did really well for themselves, and in fact, they also, just take a look, they just released the whole replay pack from Season 1. I had to go download that, so there's some good games in there. So, I think that's about all we're going to cover today. I want to give a shout out to, again, my guest, IronMan SC, for joining us for this. He did a great interview, makes some great maps. Check out the Planetary Workshop. Just do a search, whether you're on the EU or the NA server, just do a search for TPW maps, and you'll find them all. And they're a lot of fun to play on. Good melee maps. So, I think that's about all that we are going to talk about today. Let me see. Do I have anything else that I just haven't? No, I think that's going to be it. Thanks again for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and start the music now and get this to be uploading. For those who haven't noticed or seen, my audio podcasts have not been up. I've been able to... My office here has been commandeered for about a week. And I've kind of gotten everything moved out of the way just enough for me to do the show today. So, hopefully, you don't mind. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to get the podcast. I have been posting the results on the blog at fc2newscast.com. So, go ahead and check that out. We should, I believe, starting with Saturday morning, I should have everything back to start doing the normal podcast on the normal schedule. I think that's about all that I have for you today now. Yeah? Alright. Alright. Then let's go ahead and start the music and we'll hop along out of here. Thanks again for joining us. Let me get that going for you. Alright. I will see you next week. Make sure to tune in to SC2newscast.com. Thank you again.